Radhe Krishna, dear friends. I am Ruchi, founder Hen India, and welcome to our another session. And first in this series for basics of website building. So first, an intro about Hen. What is Hen? Hen stands for Her Entrepreneurial Network, a platform to bring Indian women entrepreneurs together to inspire, inform, and support each other to create successful businesses along with balanced lives. We are a community of 12,000 plus members, women entrepreneurs across the country. And today, this is one of our series from information space where we want to talk about basics of website building. Research shows 75% of credibility of a business is set up in its website. And for entrepreneurs who do not come from a technology background, this is the hardest job to get done sometimes. To get a basic, good website done at the cost and the time that the business demands and needs. Today, our objective is to spend next 45 minutes to discuss and understand what does it take to get the correct vendor, which technology to use, how do you prepare yourself for a website, and so on and so forth. My request to our viewers will be, please viewers, make sure that you share all your queries around website building today. We will make sure we address this today. If we run out of time, we will definitely come back, answer the same on the comment, or we will talk about it on our blogs or the website and so on. Also, friends, let me tell you, today we'll be talking about websites and not apps, okay? But we are open for questions. Now, with this, I would like to introduce to you the expert for the program today, Mrs. Abhisarika Das. Ta-da! Hey, Abhisarika.
Radhe Krishna. Hi, Ruchi. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this session. And thanks to Hen India for organizing this to share my learnings with all the Hen members. Thank you all, to the audience as well for taking time off their extra busy schedule to be here today. I know everyone is at home now, and there'll be too much work at home. So thanks for joining us. I hope we can be of help.
Yes, thank you so much, Abhisarika. But guys, before we move ahead, I would like to introduce Abhisarika to you and why she's an expert. She's been in this, she runs a business called K-Log Technologies, and she's been in this business for 12 plus years. What do? They make websites. When they make websites of all types and sizes. You call it for e-commerce requirements, you call it for a portfolio site, you call it for manufacturing units, you call for, like a dynamic site where people log in and they want reports to get created. So they've managed to do all of it. And they've delivered sites right from, say, PHP to WordPress to Shopify to Ruby on Rails and so on and so forth. So the experience that we have on the table is quite big. Also, along with this, as an entrepreneur, she started with a team of 6, and today she runs a team of 52 people. So the reason I'm sharing this is for all of us to get a sense of, she really has space to share from her experience of how do you prepare to get a website done. So, Abhisarika, thank you so much for sharing your time and experience and knowledge with us. Without further ado, we would like to start the conversation with you. And the first question that I want to ask you is, how do you prepare for a website? So where does it start?
I know, that's a great question. And first of all, thank you, Ruchi, for your kind words. And without any further ado, I'm going to answer that by talking to a presentation that I've made for you, just to keep us on track. Give me a second to just share my screen. Okay, coming up in a minute.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen? Just getting presentation mode now. Okay, like Ruchi said, Today, we're just going to talk about websites and online stores and how to go about them, right? This is the agenda I put together, but I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to stick to that strictly. But it's always good to have some structure, and I'm going to talk about having structure on your website. So agenda is exactly that. So that'll keep us on track. And now I'll address Ruchi's question. Getting started. How do you even get started? So you've been thinking of putting a website together, but you don't know what to do. Like anything else, getting a website together has teething problems. To make it easy for you, I'm going to give you a plan on how to proceed with this. Let's start by answering these questions that I have on the slide right here for you. We call it the 4 wives and a husband. So the why, what, who, when, and how, right? So let's tackle each question one by one. The why, right? We start from the why because this is where you set the goal. You define the purpose of the website, and that kind of helps you with the next steps, right? Now, when I say why, what you're going to do is probably jot down why you think this website is important for your business, right? You're already probably carrying on with your business, or you're thinking of starting a business. You need to just figure out how this website is going to help you, right? Is it just to advertise your business? Is it to sell something? Is it going to help you write blogs because maybe you are like an influencer or something? So why do you need the website, right? Now, let's face it, any business, small or big, probably needs a website. So that's not hard, to figure out. Like Ruchi said, 65% of businesses require this, to sort of uh, make their brand popular or to sell their services. So once you've done this, we're going to move on to the next big question, that is what. Yeah. So if you know the why, then you start thinking about what this website is going to be used for, right? Like I already spoke, do you need it to maybe write blogs, or are you a person who maybe designs jewelry or something and you want to sell it, or you're writing for like a hobby and you want to put your blogs out there, or are you running a charity and you want like a site where you can solicit donations? You can use a website for any of these, and it's important to define this because this helps you with the next decision or the next step, which is the who, right? So whenever you are actually putting a website together, I think it's important to understand your target audience, right? I attended a sales workshop just a few weeks back, which was organized by Hen. And my key takeaway from that was everything you do is always about the customer. It's always about them. It's not about you. So when you're making your website, what happens is typically people tend to write what they think is right, but that's not important. You have to actually think like a customer. What is my customer going to look for in my website, right? So don't get into that founder's block where it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing, this is what I want on my website. No, you wear the customer's hat and think, if a customer is coming to this website, will they find what they're looking for, right? And in order to do that, you have to understand who your customer is, right? Defining the target audience is quite a daunting task, and there are a lot of people who specialize in this. They create user personas, and they do a deep dive to understand the customer. And I think Ruchi will have some good insights on that because she's from the creative field. Over to you, Ruchi.
Sure, Abhisarika. So for our viewers, I have another hat. I run a visual communication and branding firm called Idea Perfect Communication, where we deliver design solutions for websites, and which is exactly why Abhisarika is asking me to talk about the target. So when we get on to designing a website, the first question that is asked the consumer or the business owner is, who is this website getting designed for? It is very important for us to understand the consumer. And when I am saying consumer, it is about the person who comes on the website and is making the decision to go ahead with the positive business deal. So the questions that we ask is, who comes on the site? What is it that they want to see first? How much typical, information would they want to see? What is the kind of time that they would probably have in hand to even invest if they want to? What happens when you ask such questions is you understand what kind of information should go on your home page, one. Two, the menu that you have on a website. These questions help you understand what words should go to define the pages that your website has. So, a lot of work gets done by only asking a simple question: who is this website getting designed for, and what is the result that we want to achieve from those people who come on our site? So typically these are guys who are consumers for the website. So yes.
Great. So I'm going to be asking a question to our audience actually. So just to sort of see how they look at this. So let's say you are creating a website like Practo. I'm hoping that most of you have come across Practo. For those who haven't, Practo is a site where you find doctors and you take appointments and you also leave reviews. So let's say now you understand what Practo is, or you might have used it. If you were making a website like that, according to you, who's your target audience?
Interesting. Dear viewers, if you have an answer, do put that on the comment box. Shall we wait for like
Yeah, for
15
a
seconds?
few seconds. Yeah. So Ruchi, I'm not able to see the comment box. So if you can read out
So
the
yes, of course. The first answer is coming from Malika. She says Practo is meant for patients.
okay.
Okay.
Any other
Do we have
answers?
more? Do we have more answers? So the question is, Deepa also says Practo is meant for patients. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have more answers, guys? Or do we go ahead?
So
Third answer says definitely patients.
okay.
Okay.
Excellent. So that's really good to hear. Now, I have a different opinion here, and I'll tell you why. Yes, you're right. It's definitely for patients. But do you think patients are going to pay for this service?
Uh,
Probably not, right? So if you are going to Zomato to look up like a good restaurant, are you going to pay for it? Definitely not. I wouldn't. I'm sure no one would, right? So who do you think these people take their money from, right? It's a business after all, and it has to make money. So who's contributing to the revenue? It's actually, in the case of Practo, the doctors, right? And in case of Zomato, it's the restaurants, right? So you know that this site is for the consumer, which in our case was the patients. You also have to think about the people who are contributing to your revenue, and this Practo wouldn't exist without them, right? Which is the doctors. And to me, both of these people or these segments are your target audience, right? Now one cannot exist without the others. You have to convince the doctors that you have enough subscribers who will use the service, and that's why they'll get on the platform. And at the same time, so subscribers won't get on the platform unless you enlist a lot of doctors. So you need both of them. So Ruchi, you can possibly contribute here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, like we said, say in a regular business space, people who pay for your services are your consumers. People who do not pay for your services and use it are users. So there's a difference between consumer and user. So the question is, who is the website designed for? It's for a consumer or it's for a user, right, Abhisarika?
It is designed, in my opinion, for both, right? So, but typically for the user, right? The user is who is going to um, sort
Use
of
the site and make value for the consumer as well.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
balance is required.
Absolutely, the balance is required. But when you are thinking of the website, you have to think of the value proposition for your consumer, right? So if you just think about the patients and you do not think about what the doctor is going to gain from this, then you might lose like perspective, right? So you need to keep both of these, segments in mind, right?
So
Just
the question also is, what is the value add that you're doing for your consumers and users through your website?
absolutely right.
Probably.
So now moving on, the next thing would be like when. So when is the right time to actually jump in and start a website, right? Now, the first thing that I want to say is, have you answered all the other W's so far? Do you have a fair idea of where you're going with this? And the other thing, which I think is very important, is, do you have the time? Because website would need some amount of effort from you. If you are the main person putting this together, or if you have a team that's doing this, the team should have enough time to devote to this website, because there's a lot of interaction that goes on during the creation of the website, and you should have somebody who can take decisions, yeah, and keep the ball rolling, right? The other thing to think about is, what is this going to cost, and do I have enough money to invest in a website, right? Now, if the website is important to you, you probably need to have like a budget in mind, and you need to move on and see if you can get it done in that budget, right? um, so if your answer to all this is yes, yes, you're ready for a website, and you're ready for the more important thing, and that is to figure out how to go about it. Before that, if you have any questions so far, I'll be happy to answer that, or I'll jump into the how, because that's going to take a bit of time.
We do not have any questions so far, Abhisarika.
Okay.
We can definitely move on. I mean, the questions that we would have would be typically, what is the right budget to work with? How do you plan for it? So yes.
So yeah, I'm going to be talking about those during this session. So I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about the budget as well. Now, when I said this is the toughest question, I really mean it. Like how? Because this, I think, is the area where a lot of the hen members need help. So you've figured out everything. You know that you need a website. You've done your research. Now you need to understand how to execute it, right? Now, when you're thinking of how, you don't even know what you are looking for, right? And this is where I want to help you a little bit. So there are two things that you probably need to determine. And one is, what is the tech that you're going to use for your website, and who should you hire? I mean, these are two important questions. The first thing is the technology, right? I mean, there's a good chance that if you are into another domain, like which has nothing to do with technology, you might not have even heard the terms that are, used in this world, right? Like I could be throwing out technical jargon like WordPress, Shopify, PrestaShop, blah blah. It won't make any sense to you, right? So it's important to figure out what are the parameters that you need to sort of outline and benchmark this platform against. What I mean by that is like what I put on my slide here, like say price. Okay, what is important to you? Is the price or the budget of the website important? How soon do you want it, like the time to market, right? How easy is it to use and maintain? Then the ability to find vendors easily, and maybe say scalability, stability. So these are just different parameters that are used to sort of measure the effectiveness of a technology. Now, Why am I saying that? Because you might have different ways of solving the same problem, right? Today, you have a lot of choices. You're not limited to only one technology or one vendor. So it's important to put these metrics in place so that you can benchmark the technology against these parameters and then make an informed choice. Yeah. And when I say, for example, price, right? So you have to ensure that your one-time setup cost and your recurring cost is something that you can actually handle, right? If it is too much, then you have to drop that technology. The second thing is time to market. Will it take like 3 months to build, or will it take 3 weeks to build? Yeah, that depends on the urgency of the situation. Suppose you have an investor looking at your website, say in a month's time. You need something that can be put up really fast. But if you have the luxury of time, then you can build something custom. Then next is ease of use or maintenance. This is kind of important. Now, suppose you are a one-person army, right? And you really don't have that much time. You need to pick a platform that makes it easy for you to run your business. You should be able to, say, change content or add products, do all of that yourself if you can, or maybe have somebody, like an intern or someone to help you. So that's another important factor. Then scalability. What do I mean by that? This is more like protecting your investment. If you're making a choice in a platform, you should be able to, scale with the platform. So today, maybe you're not making big numbers, but tomorrow, maybe, you find an investor, you double your revenue, and you're really growing. You shouldn't have to throw away that platform and start again, because that's going to be like a big deal. So this platform should scale with your business. And I'll give you an example. When you're going to buy, say, a bicycle for your kid, what would you buy? Would you buy the bicycle that works only for that particular age? Like, say, kid is 10 years old. Will you buy something that works just for that year? Most definitely not. I remember buying a bike for my kids, and I was like thinking 10 years ahead. Oh, does this seat go up? Can I change this? Can I change the handle? You want it to at least be used for a couple of years. This is the same thing. Like, you want to make sure that you don't have to throw away this website if your business, revenue grows and you scale, right? The other important thing that I want you to consider is stability, robustness, and security. That's kind of important because, like I said, there are choices. Yeah, the same thing can be done in 1,000 different ways. And today, somebody might promise like to build a website for you for, say, $5,000, and put something out there. There are a lot of hosted platforms out there which you might not even have heard of, but somebody could say that, hey, I can do this for you for really less. It'll satisfy all your requirements. But within a month, you realize that it's been hacked, or it's not scaling, or it's too slow. So it's important to sort of have kind of pick a platform which takes security and stability very like seriously. Okay, so how do you find out what's good for you? What I'd say is, like, maybe ask family, friends, maybe put it out there in Hen or something. So try to get information from trusted resources, and of course do your own research. Right? But it's always good to ask questions and get different perspectives before you sort of narrow down and pick a particular platform. And if you have done that, suppose you realize that the best platform for you is, say, WordPress. Yeah, just giving an example. So then what you need to figure out is, who do I hire? This is the other big question, right? Again, there's no best way to do this, but I would, from my personal experience, I think word of mouth referral is a good starting point, because if a trusted resource like a friend or someone has had a good experience with a vendor, chances are, if it goes through a referral, you'll be treated the same and you'll end up having a good experience. Of course, if you don't feel comfortable with the vendor, that's fine. I mean, you're always have choices. In fact, you're spoiled for choice. Today, you'll find like agencies and freelancers all over the place, right? So where do you start? I would say that research the agency or the freelancer really well, like find out as much information about them as possible, their previous work, the review, maybe the founder who's behind the agency, um, and of course, then arrange a call or a meeting with them, talk to them, see how it goes, right? Now, talking about freelancers, I just had this slide to explain, like, how do you decide between a freelancer and an agency, right? Now, freelancers definitely probably cost a little less, but you need to understand why, right? So that's probably because they don't have any overheads, right? And they don't work as a team always, right? I mean, some freelancers actually have a small team, but others really don't, right? So there's a difference. Now, for example, a freelancer could be really good at tech, but may not understand your business. But when you're dealing with an agency, you have different people who are helping you with this. You have a business analyst who understands the business and picks the right solution. You have a solution architect who puts a really good technology solution in place for you. And then you have the team of developers or designers who actually executes or implements the project. So that is why you pay more to an agency, because you've got all this entire team that's rallying behind this and putting this whole thing together for you. Whereas a freelancer may not provide all of these services. But if what you're looking for is just maybe a one-page website, by all means, a freelancer would be perfect for this. So it really depends on what you need, right? And how much you can afford, and then making an informed choice, right? Um, any questions? I know that's a lot of information to take in, but if you want me to, clarify anything, I'll be happy to do it.
So far, no question, Abhisarika.
Okay.
However,
Yeah.
if you want to share any experience that you've seen with your clients when they've worked with, like when is it that you think it makes sense for somebody to come to agencies like yours versus a freelancer versus even a platform like Upwork and Freelance?
Sure. This actually happened just a couple of days back, and I had a vendor. I'm sorry. I had a client coming to us for a particular project. It was a very big, massive B2B online store, and they gave us a functional spec that was like 30 pages long. While talking to me, he clearly told me that he had 4 other vendors lined up, right, and maybe freelancers as well. So I knew that I had competition, but guess what we did? We took that functional spec and we took it apart. We did a lot of due diligence, and we sent back a spreadsheet with our insights and what we felt was good for the tech platform that he was considering, and what was not right, what was not feasible, and also provided alternate solutions. What happened was he realized that we were actually taking the time to read his functional spec and analyze each point, each use case, and think of the challenges and the solutions. And sure enough, he actually chose us over the others. And then we went into the scoping phase. So that really tells you, so what's important here is to pick somebody who not only addresses your questions but asks you the right questions. That's kind of important, right? So they should really
That's
ask
good.
you a lot of questions. Okay.
That's a good point to make.
So now, so if that's all, then I'll go into
Yep.
the next slide, where I talk about structuring your information. I think Ruchi brought this up very early on, and I think this is kind of important because once you've got this, you know that you're on track, right? And let me tell you, like I said before, even I am thinking of revamping my website, and this is where I'm stuck, because if you don't spend time and effort organizing your content, it's not going to make an impact, right? So like I said earlier, think like a customer and then plan this. If I were a customer, I'm interested in your service, I'm coming to your page, is this this is just an example, but is this structure going to work, right? um, Maybe now or later, Ruchi, if you want, I can show a few different types of website. Maybe that'll be good.
Yeah, if
Just
you can, that'll be
yeah.
great.
So I'll stop sharing here.
Yep.
I'm going to uh, take you to like End India, for example. Now,
Sure.
this is a community site, right? So look at, I'm sure Ruchi's thought a lot about this. So Ruchi, maybe you can tell us a few things about what came
Sure.
to
You
your
want to do
mind.
a screen share?
Yeah. Can you see my screen? No. Just give me a minute. Okay. Coming up in a second.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I was just asking Ruchi, so what were you thinking when you put that menu together?
Sure. So, like when we talk about HEN, how do we introduce ourselves? We say we are a community of women entrepreneurs working together to inspire, inform, and support each other to create successful businesses. So, if you see, that's exactly what's there on our menu. So, we have something called HEN that defines what HEN is. Our three important verticals: inspire, inform, support. Inspire is inspirational stories that we collate. Inform is informational workshops and material that we share with our community, and support is the kind of events that we do. It's a community, and our action should result into something strong. So that is impact. People need to come on our site, and often when people come, they want to know why should they join here, like what's happening here. So impact is our space to share our stories. Media is, of course, just to showcase how people speak about us. Because it's a community, people don't really all the time understand what's happening inside. So basic FAQ, this is done to comfort our consumers so that they don't think that they're the only ones with some questions. These questions are very common questions, and we wanted to just address them before they further get confused. And of course, contact us. What we've also done is, if you see, we are not like a membership forum as of now. So we've put Join Hen India and About Us right above on the top menu. So what we've done is we've made sure anybody who comes on our site understands us and can join the community if they wish to. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ruchi,
So
for that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
No, no. So basically, that's the menu. That's the planning that goes first when you do the site. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I was just going to show you like a few other types of sites, and you see here they're very clear. Why would you come here? Like just say order food or to
Yeah.
just look at stuff
Yeah.
like this, right? So they're very clear on what they need. And here, if you look at cities we deliver to, that's what people would be looking for. They would be going into a city, trying to find a restaurant there. So their website makes that all very clear, right?
Yeah.
Then suppose it's an online store like Nika, of course, is the benchmark in online store success, right? Nika's done really well for themselves. They're all about beauty, wellness, and all this. So they have categories, and they've split that into these massive menus. Now, obviously, they're like a very large online store, but this is how they have managed to segregate like their products. So, like you see, and here, sorry, I was trying to show you the brands, right? So some people search by brands, and they've made it really easy to look for brands, search for brands. This is completely custom, so they can do whatever they want. Sometimes they're limited by the choice of platform, but of course they're very big now, so they've done that. Um, Again, this is like their products, then a beauty advice to engage with their clientele, and this is the Nika network. Uh, I think that's their. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, this is like your again the engagement platform, right? So they've got everything here, and this is like an Amazon, right? So they just need to be sure that they do a good job of like organizing the products, right? Now I'm going to show you a much simpler online store that we had helped build. Now, obviously, they're not like a Nika, so they just have like simple things like clothing, material, collections, and they've put that out there. Now, here's something that I want to explain. If you are into online stores, it's a little bit different from, like, say, a informational website. And if you look at this carefully, you'll see that they have just categorized the same products in three different ways. And that's the intelligent way to do it, because every shopper is different, and they're coming in with different ideas, right? Somebody might search by material, right? Somebody might search by the type of clothing, and somebody might want to see what this designer boutique has been designing, and they want to just look up different things, right? So it's very important to understand this and leverage this, right? So you don't have to be limited to only one type of categorization. This is a great example of how you are, segmenting the same products into different categories, right? And this is, of course, a totally different segment. So they put the house and home differently, and they've just kept it really simple about us. They haven't put anything that you don't need, right? So they have just what you're shopping for, a little bit about them, and membership is probably the loyalty membership. That's it, right? And of course, the search. So those are a few examples. And then, of course, I had Udemy over here. Udemy, for those of you who know this, is, of course, a very famous online course business. And we buy a lot of courses there. So what would you really do in Udemy? If you have thousands of courses, you would search, right? So they've made it very clear. There's nothing. All you do is search for a course and buy. That's it. And then maybe they just put a few important things out here where you can go quickly to that particular product and just say buy now, right? So think about how you want to organize content in your website. So now going back to where I was, that's about the site map. And obviously, an e-com site menu is going to look very different from a branding site or a blogging site. Okay, I didn't touch upon the blogging, but blogging is again a different thing. There you'll go more by blogging categories and things like that. We can maybe talk about it at the end. And now I'll move on to the next step, right? So this is, according to me, a really important step. Now I am going to tell you my vendor's perspective. Like, I am a service provider. So I'm going to give you my perspective so you understand why this is important. Now, the more crisp, the more, not sorry, crisp is not what I was looking for, the more well-researched and clear the requirements are, the better the product is going to be. Because this conveys your vision better to the service provider. Now, what happens is 80% of the clients who come to us do not have clear requirements. So what happens then is a lot of time is wasted in actually zeroing in on the requirement. And there's a good chance that we may actually not get it right. So if it's your website, you should dictate what you want from it, right? So if you're going to do a little bit of research and put down all the things that you expect the website to do, that's a good start. Now, it doesn't have to be a very technical document, with chapters and functional specifications, diagrams, nothing. It can be just a simple Google document, okay, or a Word document that just lists down everything that you think the website should do. To me, that's good enough, right? ask yourself just a lot of questions and write it like a Q&A kind of thing. What do I want the menu to be? What do I want the site to do? I've put down a few things here. For example, what's my value? Oh, sorry about that. Did I lose it? Yeah. What's my value proposition? What are my features?
Abhisarika, we can't see your screen. We
Can you
see
see it now?
your, the presentation is not live. The website was live.
Can you see it now?
You'll have to do away with the website
Okay.
and bring up
Sorry.
the presentation.
Oh, really sorry about that. Okay. I have to switch back to the
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah,
Okay. Sorry about that.
no problem.
Okay. Yeah. So I was talking about requirements and how important that is for you to get a really good website. And also for your service provider to actually do what you want and not do something else, right? Because this is where the disconnect comes between the client and the service provider. So the uh, clearer this is, the better it is for you, right? So like I said, it can be just a simple document or a sheet where you put down what you want. And if you're not sure of any of these things that I've written here, you can just put it down as something to chat about, but you don't have to write exactly what you need because you may not even know what security and data privacy would mean in terms of your website. You can just put it down as something to ask the vendor. Yeah, that's enough. But just put it down so that you don't miss it, right? That's all. Now, comes another super important question. I know that Ruchi kept telling me that, hey, you need to talk about this. Yeah. So, how to select a vendor? I'm calling it know your vendor, like know your customer. So, it's kind of important to understand how to go about this process. I have spoken about a few things already, like doing the research on the internet, like evaluating their credentials, right? Do they have good reviews? Have they been in business for quite long? Who have they worked for? Like who are the clients, right? And what kind of work have they done? You should see their portfolio, ask them questions, stuff like that. Then professionalism. I'm not sure, if that's like something that's on your radar, but for a lot of clients that is very, very important because it tells you whether this person is going to deliver things on time or not, if they're going to honor their commitment or not. So professionalism to me is quite an important factor, and this is where you can sort of pick and choose your vendor. Like this is an important metric because in terms of technology, a lot of them might be equal, but when it comes to professionalism, you'll see that at least in the Indian sector, there's a lot to be desired, right? So, and how do you gauge that? It's like with your interaction. Do they show up on time for meetings? Do they have their act together? Are they asking you the right questions? Are they providing you with the deliverables, like say a proposal on time? Maybe you have not yet signed the contract, but did they do a good job of the contract? Was it very thorough, or was it just a cookie cutter proposal? Things like that, right? And I'll talk about that also. Now, a lot of the service providers, what they do is they use a template. I'll be honest, even I do, but that's only for the things that are common. So suppose I'm putting a WordPress proposal together or a Shopify proposal together. The pieces that are about the platform are same, but we always do a complete analysis of the user's requirements, and everything else in that proposal is tailored for that customer. And that's the single most reason why we win business, because people know that we have read their functional specifications or their requirements document, and we are addressing exactly what they need. A lot of other people, I'm not saying everyone, of course not, but a lot of people actually just say, okay, this sounds like a regular site, I can do this, just put a standard template, put some code and send it across. And you can easily identify those kind of proposals. And my tip would be not to go with someone like that, because that means they didn't value this business enough to do that due diligence upfront. So clearly they're not going to really help you do something, contribute to the site and bring in ideas, right? They're just going to do the site, wash their hands off the thing and walk off. You don't want a vendor like that. You want a partner. You don't want a vendor, right? And you have to understand the difference between a vendor and a partner. So that's kind of important, because see, we believe in relationships, right? We build very long-term relationships with our clients, and that I'll be honest, I get a lot of my business through referrals from clients, and that's because of this long-term relationship. And I want you to think about that a little bit, because if they're not looking at this as a partnership where they're going to help you get a great website together, they're probably not the right vendor for you. Then, of course, ability and expertise matter. Uh, but I'll be honest, looking at the IT, field today, you get a lot of people who are good at actually coding. But coding is not the only thing. You need to think about people who will contribute uh, to the website, like in a constructive way. They're going to give you ideas on how it should be. They're going to tell you about security. They're going to tell you about scalability, right? They're going to tell you why X platform is better than Y platform, right? If they're not doing these, right, I don't think they're a good choice, because at every step in your journey, you need somebody who can assist you with these questions. And if they don't have the expertise to address your queries upfront, there's a good chance that they're not going to help you, as you go along, right? And that's not good for you, because you don't have the time to invest in research all the time. You need a partner who can help you quickly with all this, right? Um, any questions?
Abhisarika,
Yeah.
we don't have questions, but we're going across the time. It's 11:47 already. So
Okay.
yeah, we
Yeah,
need
I'll
to
just
kind of.
move through just a couple of other things. Uh,
Dear viewers, we're sorry we're running late, but we thought this was important. If we are hoping you'll be okay to hang around for another 20 minutes for sure. Please share this as comments if that's okay with you.
yeah, I'm going to just quickly breeze through this. This is what I call, I mean, these are another very important factor in online business, especially online stores, and that's the backend operations. What we have noticed is a lot of people who want to set up online stores are only thinking about the website, but they have not thought about like the backend operations. And to me, that is very, very important. If you're going to put up a website or an online store could take on an average maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But setting up your online process, I mean, sorry, the backend processes could take months. So you need to have a certain things in place even before you contemplate putting up a online store or a website. Now, like I said, this is more relevant to online stores because there's a lot of things to think about. But if you're also a service provider, like say online learning portal or something, then you need to think about having the right courses, having a platform to deliver those courses, having mentors, all of that. So I'm going to share this slide, so I'm not going to go into each and every point, but the idea here was that you need to sort of understand the backend operations pretty well and have people on the process to handle that even before you think about a website, right? And here, the only thing I'm going to talk about is the infrastructure management thing, because this is a very technical thing, and it's something that many people ask me about. So I will just talk about that, Ruchi, if we have time. And what I'm talking about is like the platform specific credentials. What happens many a times is some clients who come to us say that they have no idea where their site is hosted. They have no idea where their data is. because some vendor did it, that vendor's absconding. We don't know how to get around this. They don't even have the credentials to actually change their domain or their email. So that's a scary situation. So my advice to all of you is, whenever you are making like you're setting up a website, irrespective of who you choose as a vendor, make sure you have complete control over all of these: your hosting, yeah, your email, your domain, your data. It's yours. Yeah. And if you're buying some third party tool or a plugin, you should have licenses and complete access to that as well. Do not let your vendor do this for you and say that, oh, you don't have to worry, I'll take care of everything, you just pay me a X fee per month. You will pay the X fee, but you say, no, I need a complete like document with all of these credentials on my desk from day one. If you're not doing that, you're going to be in real trouble. Because see, recently we were working with a very large enterprise, and I was surprised that the domain was registered by the vendor. I was absolutely really surprised, because they were pretty big enterprise, and I said that, why does this individual have access to their domain? I mean, that's a big risk, right? So imagine big companies doing that. So clearly, that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, so I just wanted to make that point because I've seen.
Abhisarika, I
Yeah,
have a question for our viewers here. So many of us are entrepreneurs and we do not come from technology background.
right.
So in what format do we get these credentials? For what is a domain credential? What is it that I need to have my domain credential, hosting credential? Like,
Okay.
are there username, passwords? What is cPanel? Like,
Good.
two
Yeah.
minutes on this.
Sure, sure, sure. That's a very important question. So, if you're talking domain, that's like the name of your website, like www.henindia.com, right? And a domain is registered with a particular company called like a domain registrar. So, you need to have the URL of that domain registrar, like say godaddy.com. You need to have the user ID or customer ID and the password to get in, right? Once you get in there, you should have access to see like your domain name, and you should be able to click on it and say see the domain settings and name servers. You don't have to worry about the technicalities, but you need to be able to get in and see your domain name there. If you are able to do that, from that point onwards, a special like a service provider could help you, but you need to be able to get in. Okay. And you can also do what I say, who is. So if you say who is and your domain name, like there'll be some who is websites. You click on that, put in your domain name, and it'll give you all the information about your domain. When you see that, you have to ensure that your name is mentioned there as the person who has registered the domain. That is what I meant. Don't ask somebody else to register your domain. You do it yourself, and this domain should belong to you, because it has serious repercussions. Somebody could just say that, hey, it belongs to me, and you have to pay me like a lakh of rupees if you want your domain. And you can't do anything because that person has registered it for you. So never ever let somebody else register your domain. I'll show that who is in a minute. Before
Yes.
that, I'll ask the
Also
other.
for hosting, what do you
Yeah,
suggest for
just going
hosting?
to, yeah, the hosting. Hosting is where your website actually the code and data resides, right? So suppose you're making a WordPress site, so the WordPress hosting provider says HostGator. So HostGator is your hosting provider. You should have the URL, okay, of the cPanel. I'll explain what that is. And you should have the login, user ID, password to the HostGator main site as well. When you're talking about hosting, there are two sets of credentials you need to have. One is like the front end login, which is typically for the business part of it, like for billing and things like that. The other one, what you mentioned, Richie, is the cPanel. That cPanel is a tech term, but the cPanel is like a dashboard from where your data and your content, your database, everything is managed, your network settings, everything. So you need to have full access to that, right? So even if you don't understand it, you don't have to worry. You can just ask the vendor to give you the cPanel URL, user ID, password, and please make sure you log in once, and you are able to log in. Because if you're not, then you tell them to change the password, give it to you. Make sure you can do that, right? That's cPanel for you. Then, like I said, if there is a plugin that you are using and you have to buy it, usually you buy it from a third party site like Theme Forest, right? And you need to again have the user ID, password to log into that site and download that plugin whenever you need. Same with themes. I think it's better if I stop sharing this and show you actually the screen, my other screen, where I can actually talk to like a few sites. Yeah. So let's say this is GoDaddy. I'm sorry. That's the perfect example of a domain registrar. So what you need is this URL, and I'm sorry, it's already logged in, but yeah. So like I'm logged in for this customer, log out. Yeah. So registered users. So you need to have the username, password like this. It looks like this in GoDaddy. You have usually a customer number or a username and a password. Yeah. You need to have these with you for sure. Now, let's say you go to something like Bluehost. Yeah. So now here again, I'll explain what I mean by a front end login. Yeah. So this is the front end login. And that means like, the email or the domain name and the password. Like, let's say I have Lock Technologies and a password, right? So this is what you need. Now, there's also what? Let me see. cpanel.bluehost.com. Oh, okay. cpanel URL for Bluehost. Hi, Ruchi. Can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen is live. Everybody can see.
Yeah, great. So this is what I mean. So this is like the cPanel login. So like I said, I did a Google on like the actual login URL for the cPanel. So you need to have that URL and the user ID password to log in, right? For this is my domain and this is my password. So this is my cPanel login to get into my hosting. Let me see if I can get in. I'm not sure if this is right, but if I can get in, I can show you. Wow.
Seems to be password trouble.
Did it say something? No.
No.
Let me just check for a second, otherwise I'll ditch this.
Yes.
Okay. Oh well. Leave that. But basically, that's what you need. And about the who is lookup, this is what I meant. And you can pick any who is lookup. This is a good exercise for all of you to do for your own website. And just say this. Bear with me. Yeah. So you get this search results. So this is kind of important. This is actually not showing me a lot. Yeah, but I have maybe it's yeah. What I meant was you need to have the registrar name and everything. Let me see if I can do with Hen India. Maybe mine is private, so it's not showing everything. Usually you get a lot more information. That's what I wanted to show. Yeah. So if you see this, so this is the public domain registry. This is the contact. I think Ruchi, yours is also private, but basically it
Yes.
sometimes actually shows. Yeah, it shows the name of the person who has registered it and things like that. Unless you keep it private. So maybe these are private registrations, so it's not showing everything. But basically, what I'm trying to say is make sure that all this is listed in your name. You should have full access. You should buy the domain. Yeah, so keep that in mind. And yeah, I think that was all I had, right? Ruchi, anything else that you want me to talk about? I think all I wanted to share was, yeah, it's important to choose the right people, technology, and
We can't see your slide.
yeah, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that I have to switch between the two. Extremely sorry. Yeah. I don't have much on the slides anymore anyway. I'll just quickly wrap that up and throw it open for questions. So all I was saying is, like, you need to have like the right mix of people, technology, and strategy, and I'm sure that you'll be very successful. And like I said, I've shared a few tips on how to pick the right technology and the right people. The right strategy is, like, you do some research on who, what, why, how, and I'm sure you'll get there. So that's it,
So
actually. And yeah, tell me.
some questions that we have.
Sure.
Uh, when we work with WordPress, do we work with templates or do we customize it? What are the pros and cons?
So everything in WordPress or in any platform actually starts from a template, right? It's only like how much you customize, right? So if you want something really quick and you found a template that addresses, say, about 70% of your needs, I'm sure you can go in a the template way, because it's much faster, more cost effective, and you can sort of customize the rest to achieve what you want. If it's missing something critical, yeah, okay, you need to think twice. But if it addresses, like I said, 60-70% also, I think going with a template is an easier approach.
Cool. Uh, Another question was, is there any tips that you can share for UI, UX, fonts, colors, etc.? Anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so the UI UX, I think, Ruchi, you are better in that. But from what I know, typically it should reflect the brand and the culture of your brand, right? So, if you're making, say, a website for children, obviously it has to be like fun, it has to be playful, and your colors should also be bright, and it should sort of reflect the the target audience's preferences, right? So that's what I mean. So suppose you're making like a gaming website, you are looking at teenagers, it's going to be like all black and futuristic and things like that. So your service provider should also give you some ideas on that. But typically, the colors and all are dependent on your brand colors. And of course, if it's an online store and things like that, we say that the call to action buttons need to be really bright and prominent, like pick like orange or something bright like that, so that people can spot the add to cart or buy now right away. So that's
Yeah.
what I had in mind. Ruchi, maybe you can add something to that.
I want to add here, dear viewers, make sure that the website is responsive. Majority of the population today browses a website or interacts with a website on a phone or an iPad,
Sure.
and we now do not build websites only for desktops and laptops. So it's important for the website to be responsive. So
Totally.
that's the most important thing to look at.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
we,
Yeah.
we have another question. It says, how to keep track of visitors?
Okay, great question. That's a Fantastic question. Actually, I meant to talk about that, but I guess I ran out of time. Uh, you should positively sign up for Google Analytics. It's free and it is the best tool to track visitors, also their behavior on your website, also the demographics, right? So Google Analytics is free. All you need is a Gmail ID to sign up for it, and just go there, sign up for it, and you'll get what we call a tracking pixel. You need to give that to your service provider to add to your website. That's about it. After it's done, then you can log into your Google Analytics console and you can see the number of users who visited, the pages they visited, where they dropped off, and you can make informed decisions about that as you go along.
One more thing I want to add here, that is,
Yeah.
do remember to add Facebook pixel code to your website as well. Most of us are doing social media marketing these days, and with social media marketing, Facebook pixel really supports. It helps you understand really, how your viewers are moving between your social media pages, your website, and who's coming to your site, and the dynamics very interesting.
Sure. Facebook pixels are also very popular, and
Yeah.
certainly can add that.
We have a question from Neil. She says, I want to start a cosmetic website. Will you like to
Mhm.
share someone so may get help? uh, Neil, of course, when you're asking here, Abhisarika runs Scale of Technologies and they've built multiple e-com platforms. So, of course, we'll say, please connect with Team KLOC. However, I would suggest you to please post this on Hen also. We've given you enough
Yeah.
tips to choose from your vendors.
Yeah.
You must look at KLOC as one of your vendors before you sign up. Let the
No,
best win.
there's absolutely no pressure. I think you should follow my tips on like doing some research and actually listing down some 4 or 5 vendors, because unless you do that, you won't know the difference that the vendor is bringing to the table, right? So it's good to make a choice. Like when you're buying something from an online store, you go through like hundreds of pages before you decide like what you want. So same thing with you. By all means, yeah, like look up like a few vendors, but before that, I think I would urge you to do the homework to figure out sort of what type of site and what kind of platform you might be interested in, because that will help you choose the right vendor. Because there are multiple ways of creating what you want, right? So you could do it in WooCommerce, PrestaShop, OpenCart, Shopify, anything. So I would say that read up on some of these online platforms and see which one fits your needs the best, and maybe your budget as well, and then make an informed choice.
Abhisarika, so here is a question, since we are talking about e-com, and when we
Yeah.
talk about e-com today, we generally talk about WooCommerce, the WordPress-based platform, or Shopify. If in 2 minutes, if you can quickly help us understand like major difference between WordPress and Shopify, like 2 minutes, we will, dear viewers, we are looking to do like a 1 hour program on difference between a WordPress and a Shopify. However, 2 minutes is all that you have today.
Yeah. So very quickly, so if you're looking for like something where you don't have to worry about the hosting infrastructure, any of that hassle, you only want to run your business on a stable platform, Shopify is really good. And Shopify suits businesses where which involve like B2C, tangible products, like physical products, right? Like clothing, cosmetics, like all those kind of things. uh, WordPress is more versatile, right? So WooCommerce is the online shopping channel for WordPress, but WordPress itself is a blogging platform. So if you need a site which does both, where you have a lot of content as well as online shopping, WordPress is a better choice. Also, if you have custom functionality, WordPress is a better choice because it's open source and you can write code on your own. Okay. In Shopify, you have to accept what is available and move on with it. Like you have to make it work in that platform. But in WordPress, you have a little bit of flexibility. That's pretty much it. The other thing is in Shopify, you have an online subscription fee that you have to pay every month, and you also have a transaction fee apart from the payment processor fee. In WooCommerce, you simply have the payment processor fee and you have the hosting for the WordPress site, right? The hosting fee and the subscription fee are kind of similar, but in Shopify, there's also a transaction fee that you need to be aware of. But of course, they are like, you don't have to worry about infrastructure. Those are the two things. I mean, those are a few things that come to my mind. But yeah, of course, it's like a very
Yeah.
big discussion. Yeah.
This is like a big conversation. We will
Yeah.
definitely come back with a conversation on Shopify versus WordPress. However, the last question for the day: how involved should I be? And what if I don't like the product that the team creates? This is a question we got on a mail from one of our members. Uh,
See, yeah, you have to be involved, or you have to set expectations very early on that you're not going to be involved, and that's also fine. Like I had a customer yesterday who said the exact same thing. He said that I have a bunch of things to do. I I don't want to like spoon feed. Are you going to do this for me? And I said, yes, I can do XYZ. I do not do, say, whatever service. For that, we have partners. I'll connect you, right? So you need to have this discussion with the vendor very early on and set expectations. You say that, look, I have very little time, right? So I can give you 1 hour of my time every week to catch up, right? So if you're doing that, make sure that your requirements specification is very tight so your vendor clearly understands what you need. Now in terms of iterations, whether you like what they're doing or not, that is a part of your contract. So you need to have revisions built into your contract, right? So you say that how many revisions are included in this price. Suppose it's like I mean, obviously you can't have revisions for the entire website, but I'm talking more from a design or look and feel kind of thing. If they've done a homepage for you that you don't like, you can specify the number of revisions that they will accommodate in the price. So make sure you have room for that, right? And I mean, maybe sometimes it could be a paid activity also. You can say that I might ask for changes, in which case we can size that effort and do it. But they should be willing to do it.
so basically, a tight contract is very important to set the
Absolutely.
expectations, terms and conditions in terms of the process and deliverable. How involved should you be? It is good to be involved because this is real business for you. This is as good as saying you're giving out, you're signing up an interior designer to do up your office or your showroom and not being involved in it. Will you let that go? If not, then this is an activity where you should be involved, to make sure you get what you want for your consumers.
Yes,
With
you
this,
should be involved. But what she said was if she doesn't have the time, you set the expectation, but you give them very clear scope.
yes, but you be involved to see how they progress, so that it's not at the end of
Exactly.
the product you realize nothing's working.
Yeah. You have to
That
catch it
that is
early.
a trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Saying that, so guys, if there are any questions, this is last few seconds that we are in. Otherwise, we're ready to close. Cool. So, Abhisarika, we really have no questions anymore. And
Thank
I
you.
think, and I believe our viewers have benefited from this conversation. I think it was very candid and very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And we look
Thank you.
forward to the next session, difference between WordPress and Shopify.
Sure. It was great talking to all of you. Thank you so much. And like I said, please reach out if you have any other questions.
Yes. Guys, if you have any questions, do reach out. If anything that we discussed and you did not follow or you think that you want to talk about, please write to us on henindia@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank
See you,
you. Thank
Abhisarika.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.